Amadioha stood in the radiant halls of the Citadel of Light, his body trembling from the ordeal he had just survived. His skin was raw, scorched from the heat of the sun's core, yet his spirit surged with a newfound strength. He had endured. He had faced the fire of the sun and emerged not broken but stronger, his storm quiet but more focused than it had ever been. Above him, Anianwu watched in silence from his throne of light. The sun god's face remained unreadable, but deep within he was unsettled. In all the countless eons that he had trained gods of every kind, each seeking to harness their power, few had survived the core of the sun. Fewer still had done so with the speed Amadioha had shown. Most gods took days, weeks, sometimes longer, to fully endure the core's heat. Some never emerged at all. Amadioha had done it in a single day. Any god who could withstand the heart of the sun this quickly was no ordinary being. There was something about Amadioha, something beyond his raw power and thunderous will. It was as if he were driven by a force greater than himself. Something ancient, something divine. Anianwu's thoughts drifted to Chukwu, the supreme god and creator of all things. Could it be that Amadioha was favored? Was Chukwu guiding him in ways unseen, making his path easier to tread? The thought gnawed at Anianwu. He had trained many gods before, but none with such potential. And yet, Amadioha was still young, proud, reckless, and far from mastering the deeper wisdom required to truly wield his power. If he knew the truth of his potential, his ego might swell beyond control. Anianwu remained silent, choosing not to voice these suspicions. If Amadioha was indeed favored by Chukwu, then it would be better left unspoken. Fueling the thunder god's arrogance could undo everything they had begun. No, Anianwu would continue pushing him, harder than before, to see just how far Amadioha could go. Rest, if you can. Anianwu's voice echoed through the chamber, smooth and calm as ever. Your next trial will be unlike the others. Amadioha's breath came heavy, his chest still rising and falling from the intensity of the trial. But his eyes, sharp and defiant, met Anianwu's. I do not need rest, he said, his voice laced with both pride and exhaustion. I am ready for whatever comes next. Anianwu's eyes narrowed, though he showed no sign of surprise at Amadioha's words. You are eager, but eagerness can be dangerous. The path you walk is not one that rewards impatience. Amadioha took a step forward, his legs still shaky but resolute. I survived the sun, didn't I? What more is there? The sun god leaned forward ever so slightly, his eyes glowing with the intensity of stars. You survived, yes, but endurance is only one piece of mastery. The next test is not one of strength, but of perception. Amadioha frowned, the weight of Anianwu's words unsettling him. Perception. Follow me, Anianwu said, rising from his throne. His movement was graceful, the light around him bending and shifting, as if it were an extension of his very being. Amadioha hesitated for only a moment before falling and stepped behind him. The Citadel of Light seemed to expand as they walked, the golden halls stretching endlessly in all directions. Pillars of light towered above them, each one etched with symbols and stories of gods long forgotten. The walls themselves seemed to hum with power, alive with the energy of the sun. Anianwu led Amadioha deeper into the citadel until they reached a massive set of doors, glowing with an otherworldly light. As they approached, the doors opened on their own, revealing a vast labyrinth of shimmering light beyond. This, Anianwu said, gesturing toward the labyrinth, is the Labyrinth of Illusions. It is a place where nothing is as it seems. Here, you will face not your enemies, but yourself. Amadioha glanced at the labyrinth, its shimmering walls twisting and shifting like a living thing. his brow furrowed. What am I supposed to do? Find your way to the center, Anyanwu replied. But be warned, the path will not be clear. The labyrinth will show you things, visions of your past, illusions of your future. Some will be temptations, others will be fears. You must see through them all. Amadioha's jaw tightened. He had faced trials of endurance, of strength, of will. But this felt different. The idea of confronting illusions, of facing his own past, unsettled him in a way that the heat of the sun had not. What if I don't succeed? Amadioha asked, though he hated the doubt creeping into his voice. Anyanwu's gaze softened just for a moment. Then you will remain lost. Without another word, Amadioha stepped forward into the labyrinth. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air shifted. The walls of the labyrinth closed around him, shimmering and pulsing with an eerie light. The floor beneath his feet was solid, yet it seemed to ripple like water with every step he took. Shadows danced along the edges of his vision, and the air grew thick, heavy with a strange tension. Amadioha pressed on, his heart pounding in his chest. At first, the labyrinth was quiet, almost serene. But as he ventured deeper, the illusions began to form. The first vision appeared suddenly. A village, its buildings familiar and its people even more so. It was one of the villages he had sworn to protect, one that had been destroyed in the storm he had unleashed. The sky above was dark, filled with angry clouds, and the winds howled as lightning tore through the air. Amadioha's breath caught in his throat. He remembered this place. He remembered the storm, the chaos, the destruction. He had tried to control it, tried to stop the storm from destroying everything. But it had been too late. The village had been reduced to rubble, the lives lost forever. The vision played out before him, vivid and real. The faces of the villagers, their cries for help, echoed in his ears. His heart pounded as guilt surged through him, the weight of his failure crashing down on him like a tidal wave. This is not real, he whispered to himself, clenching his fists. It's just an illusion. But even as he said the words, the vision remained. The storm raged, the village burned, and the faces of the dead stared at him, their eyes filled with accusation. You failed us, a voice whispered from the storm. You let us die. Amadioha shook his head, his body trembling. No, I didn't. I tried. The vision twisted, the faces of the villagers shifting, merging into one. A single figure standing in the center of the destruction. It was him, Amadioha. His reflection stared back at him, eyes burning with anger and guilt. You are not a protector, the reflection hissed. You are destruction. You are chaos. You will always be. Amadioha's heart raced, his chest tight with fear and doubt. The storm within him rumbled, the thunder threatening to burst free. But he forced himself to breathe, to focus. This is not real, he repeated, his voice stronger this time. I will not let this control me. The illusion wavered, the village flickering like a candle in the wind. Amadioha took a step forward, his mind clearing. The vision faded, the storm dissipating, until there was nothing left but the shimmering walls of the labyrinth. He had survived the first illusion. But the trial was far from over. Outside the labyrinth, Anyanwu watched from afar, his gaze fixed on the shifting walls. He had seen many gods enter the labyrinth, some never to return. But Amadioha was different. The speed with which he had faced the illusions, the way he had confronted his own guilt and emerged stronger, it was remarkable. Anyanwu's thoughts drifted once more to Chukwu. Was this the supreme god's doing? Had Chukwu bestowed upon Amadioha a strength unlike any other? But Anyanwu said nothing. He would not give voice to these suspicions, not yet. Amadioha had much to learn, and arrogance was a poison that could still ruin him. Anyanwu would continue to push, to test, until Amadioha either rose to his full potential or crumbled under the weight of his own pride. The trial was only just beginning.